up, everybody? You are watching Luminous Nova and Nova Mara.
Wait, what?
Wait.
Double Nova? Is that supposed to happen?
Double Nova! Hello, everybody.
Hi.
We got a special guest here today because we are doing a charity stream. We're raising money for the Transempowerment.org. Yeah, I kind of like the name says it already, Transempowerment. It's basically a charity that will help do you say trans people?
Yeah, like usually we talk about transgender people or trans people. There isn't a set rule on how exactly we do it, but there is the whole idea of avoiding certain terms. Like, we're not transvestites, okay?
Yeah,
Just
okay,
don't.
yeah. But if I say trans people, that will
Yeah.
be the right way to word it. Okay. Yeah, so basically we're raising money for this organization because they help trans people with a lot of their needs. There's of course a whole psychological aspect to it. There's a whole physical aspect to it when you're going through a change, and there's also the outside surroundings, like the people that love the transgenders, and they also get help from this organization. They get information, they get help on how to best like support somebody as well. So I feel like they really offer like the whole package. And yeah, so where do we start? I think maybe we can start when did you know you wanted to be like transitioning, or like how was that whole process for you? Let's start at the beginning.
It's hilarious. For context, this is always the first question that
Right?
people ask,
Yeah.
especially in interviews and people who are new to this. But yeah, the thing is, on a certain level, you always know. The question is, when do you get the language to describe what you felt or what you knew was true? And in my case, that happened when I was around 19 to 20, something like that. Like, for context, I'm 31 and I stopped counting the years, so hi.
Nice.
Yes, and yeah, like maybe also important for context, as if it's not obvious by the voice or other weird details. Hi, I'm Nova, I'm a trans woman, which for the new people to LGBT communities, trans just means that you do not identify with the gender you were assigned at birth. So in my case, I got born and people gave me a present that said, "Hi, you're a boy." And I looked at that present and I was like, fuck no, I don't want that, I want that. Like that's the easiest way to describe it. So yeah, at about the age 20, I first started figuring things out for myself. And from there, it both went really fast and super slow.
Super fast and super slow. Yeah, so
Yeah.
is it also, because you say you're 31 now and you were 20 when you were like going into process, is it now easier to go into process? Are there more resources now out there? Would you say it's like better, or?
Well, I think in a lot of ways there are a lot more resources. Like when I started my transition, the whole of the internet was very different. And for example, I've never heard of things like the Trevor Project is a very well known one, and something like Transempowerment, what we're fundraising for, is something I would have never imagined back in the day because I'm that old, that something like that would ever exist or be. But in a different way, if we look at it in purely medical terms, which I don't like, but it is important to talk about. While there have been made improvements on the technology and surgery methods and things like that, overall, a lot of it is still the same. Like, there is enormous waiting list in so many places, and there is still a lot of trouble with acceptance and the way that the pre-process works. Like, basically a bunch of strangers, you talk with a bunch of strangers and they judge if you're allowed to transition or not.
So that's actually how it starts, because like if you make the decision, okay, I want to go into this process, like where do you go?
Yeah, so honestly, it's very different per person. I know for myself, I wanted a clear end goal in mind of where I wanted to go, who I wanted to be, and all of that. And then weirdly enough, you first have to go to your general physician and hope that they are helpful. Mine was. Yay, thank you.
Nice.
From there, you get on a waiting list for the hospital, where you will get a psych evaluation. There, let's keep it at that.
Yeah.
After which you get another waiting list before you can go on hormones, and then another waiting list before you can get any surgeries if you want those. And like these waiting lists in total, I think I spent like 5 years before I was at my end goal. And that is when you already know, well, in my case at least, already know where you want to go. And it is worth mentioning, definitely, that not everybody knows where they want to end up. You know, like I meet a lot of what we call eggs, people who still need to hatch out of their shell.
Okay, so those are called eggs. Oh, okay,
yes.
Okay.
Who just don't really know what their end goal is, and maybe they feel more non-binary, so they don't really want surgeries, but they do want hormones. Or maybe they just need some guidance in figuring out where they want to be. Mm-hmm. And do you think it's easier to transition in American? I feel if you just got the money, they don't question you. Well, but be positive. There's a valid point that is not incorrect, but it comes with a lot of hooks and crannies. Because yes, if you got the money, but if you are in any way, shape or form queer or otherwise different, so trans for example, getting a well-paid job is already an extra thing because you're not within the norm, so you're likely to get hired with a lot more issues, if at all. Like I can literally count 3 different jobs that I didn't get, literally because I'm just me. You know, not even for qualifications or anything, but just I'm a little bit different.
So what you're saying is basically that if you have a lot of money, that's nice, but if you're trans, you're bound to like not have a lot of money because of these reasons, because society kind of like holds you somewhere. And I feel like that's also like, you know, why the charities exist to help, you know, because you were talking about hormones, for example. Those can be very expensive, and like sometimes you have a good income because your job is just going well. But what if you lose your job and then you have to cut your hormones? Where are you gonna go? Like this charity is somewhere where you can knock on the door and say, "Hey, I lost my job and I need to continue with my hormones. Otherwise, it's gonna be cut off." You know. Yeah. So yeah.
And I mean the idea that money solves everything. Yeah, that's basically the same here also in a way. Like if you have money to excuse the stereotype, but it is. If you have the money to fly to Thailand and get your surgeries there, then screw it, whatever they want here, you know?
Yeah, okay.
Having enough money solves so much.
Yeah, I mean, money is basically like freedom in a sense because it decides where you can go and like, yeah, my God, whole other topic there, oh my gosh, yeah.
Like, I mean, it's that simple. Like, and it's a valid question to have, and I'm happy that you asked it because it helps give some context and also talk about some of the challenges. But yeah, so that.
Yeah. Yeah, nice. Yeah, because you were saying that you already knew from the start, like, where you want to go. So you were basically already, like, really busy with it in your head. Like, where do I want to be? What do I want? But do you feel like you were also helped in that process with the psych evaluation?
Well, because it's more of an evaluation, it feels a lot more like you're being judged if you are trans enough. And I hate that terminology, but that's literally how it goes.
Yeah, this is kind of what I was kind of like hinting at, because I do feel like, you know, someone decides for you if it's like possible or not.
And this someone can hold their own views. Like, for example, in my case, because I'm a little bit more stereotypical femme, I went through that whole process a little bit easier. But I also know several stories of trans men, so people going the other way, who have been rejected for the weirdest things. Like, for example, literally being told, you like horse riding, so you can't be a dude. Excuse me?
Oh, wow. Oh, my God.
Like,
what?
seriously. I'm not even kidding.
Damn. The mental health world has a lot of data that is saying that outcomes are better with gender affirmation, and the
Yep.
right still ignores this research. For me, this is all a question of what makes people happier and more productive and more intact emotionally. That's
Yeah.
spot on, yeah.
That is spot on indeed.
There are psychological problems that are far more common, that gender issues that lots of people in the field don't want to recognize. So yeah, they had.
Yeah, and a lot of the times, having gender issues, to put it like that, can also lead to a lot of different issues. And no, getting gender affirming care is not a magic happy pill, but oh my gosh, have I been doing better since I went into transition? Like, seriously.
And you mean like mentally, just
Yeah.
like being more okay with yourself. Also
Being
brought
more
you,
okay
like,
with
yeah.
myself also just meant that I got more confident, I got like stronger in what I could and wanted to do, and just, yes, hooray for doing better. Like, if I think back now on who I was at that point in time, I'm like, who the fuck was that kid? That wasn't me.
Yeah.
And even the state of mind was so different. And it's not that it was all okay one day to another, like it was still a lot of work. But I had the energy and the will to start putting the work in. Because, yeah, I was more comfortable in my skin.
Yeah.
Who knew? If you're comfortable in your skin, you can work on yourself.
Whoa! Yeah, I feel like a lot of mental health struggles actually really derive from people not accepting who they are, because we live in such a society where you have to like constantly be something else. And if you just are your like true self and you can just be comfortable, I feel like that will solve like so many problems for people, like so many anxiety attacks and everything, because you don't have to worry so much anymore about like, how do I have to behave? What do I have to do?
Yeah, and like, I mean, the being comfortable part also comes with being accepted for who you are. Like, you know, if you're constantly getting bullied for who you are, then yeah, no, that's... You can feel better about yourself, but the external message is still that you're not worth it.
Yeah.
And it's good to talk about, like, seriously.
Yeah.
I will always say that. It's one of my biggest things over on my own channel, but also just in general, that I like talking about these things, to bring the word out and let people know. And yes, I'm talking to you right there. Yes, you. I want you to know that you're not alone. There's people who will support you and love you, you know, which isn't always easy to believe. Trust me, I've been there. But there are people who care.
Yeah.
I see you.
Yeah, and that brings me back to the topic, like the
Yes.
question of like, how did your environment react? Your family, friends, was there anyone there for you to support you?
Well, so because I already... initially, I struggled a lot on my own because I just didn't even have the words to express what I wanted and what I needed. So basically, I was already ready to do the social transition by the time I started telling the people closer to me. And most of them were pretty okay. And then I'm saying most of them, like, I'm sorry for the stereotype, but my grandparents, you know, like, they're good people, don't get me wrong, but I had a really hard time adjusting. Like, my grandpa, for context, a typical manly man, ex-military, Catholic, the whole shebang of everything that would usually not accept trans people. He didn't quite ban me from the family, but it took him like 3 years to even consider that maybe I wasn't doing this for attention and that I just wanted to be happy. And it took him another 4 or 5 to even call me by my chosen name. So yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, because that's also a thing. You gave yourself a different name, or...
Well, funny.
Here we go.
So, as a trans person, a lot of trans people, yes, Well, I mean several. Like seriously, but yeah, a lot of trans people get a chosen name. Like we go into transition and we want to dump the old name. We literally call it a dead name because that part of ourselves is dead. Um, and a lot of trans people will choose that name themselves. I went to my best friend and younger brother and my birth giver. That's a whole other story. My birth giver.
Okay.
And they both went with. Well, I'm not gonna dox myself here. Come on.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. You won't say your name.
Yeah,
But yeah.
like they basically gave the same name, of which one the shorter version and the other the full spoken version, and it just felt right, and that's been my name ever since.
But yeah, be positive. What you're saying is also very true. Like, if your parents are accepting, it would be funny to get a name that they would have called you if you were born the opposite sex.
Yeah.
Everyone actually thought that I was gonna be a boy when I was born, so like all my children's clothing was all green because everyone thought that I was gonna be a guy. But
Green is a good color.
The name that my parents thought for me as a guy, it was awful. It was Yoop.
Oh gosh.
Yoop. That's like, nah, man. I don't know. Like, I don't even like my own original name. I don't even call myself that. I changed my name when I was 19. Not officially, because I just didn't want to do it officially. It was too much hassle. And I don't really, hate too much my own name, but yeah. Yoop, man.
Can we not talk about PayPal? Gosh.
Oh,
Sorry.
PayPal. Yeah.
Yeah. I already used PayPal back then, and it was to get that done.
Okay, so you're basically saying that, like, do the change first and then make a PayPal.
Yeah, if you're lucky enough to already know by then. It's ugh.
Yeah, that's actually very interesting because, like, you think, like, oh, okay, I'll just change my name, but there's, like, so many things that ripple out of it.
Yep.
You have to, like, call every instancee, let them know, and not a lot of people know how to change it in the system. It's not like that normalized yet that the system is like, oh, I could just switch between men and women, and
Yeah, but like there are some systems that are legitimately just not made for it.
Yeah.
Which is, oops.
Yeah, it's something that people didn't think about, like, when they created it, probably. And that's why awareness is so important, so that all these little things become, like, more easier everywhere.
But I'll my inner activist, I'll one up you on that one. Mm-hmm. A lot of these gender markers that we have, for example, with PayPal, for example, with the local government, for example, with you name it, why the fuck? Sorry.
It's okay. We have an 18 plus filter on it.
Do they even need your gender? What does it add?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, in medical terms, I understand the relevance, but a lot of the time it isn't. Most companies just want your money. Get rid of the gender marker. Sorry.
Yeah,
that is my inner activist.
They just want the data, to be honest. Like, that's the thing. They want to profile you, and that's a very wrong thing as well. What?
The sender. Can't we just be called humans? I mean, yeah, exactly.
Yes, please. I'm a human.
Most companies want your money and your data. Yeah, but like, I mean, what does it really say? Like, think for yourself about this. Like, Lumi here considered a woman, me here considered a woman, but what does that label really truly say about a person? You know?
Well, this is actually, like, a fair point, because a little bit of a side story, like, it's just also a thing where, for example, with performing, I am usually put in the girls group because, you're a girl, so you have to, like, dance with the hula hoop and dance with the fan stuff, and it's like, but I also want to do swords, I also want to do, like, dragon stuff, and usually it's very, like, separated.
Yeah, which in this kind of entertaining makes even less sense.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're a good dancer, you're a good dancer.
Yes, but
this one is amazing.
But that's the thing. Like, what does it matter if I'm a woman or not? You know, like, can we just, like, not look at what you want to do and, like, just express yourself in that way? You know, And I mean, luckily, I'm in like a fire team that accepts me for who I am and is like, oh, you want to do swords? Well, let's get it then,
Let's
you know?
do it.
So I'm very happy that it's like all very accepted. But I do have had it throughout my entire life that I've always wanted to do the not girly stuff. And I also was hanging out with the guys. And then you're always looked at a little bit funny. It's like,
Yeah.
why do you want to do these things? And it's like, it's a very like simple example,
Yeah.
but it's
Not
very true.
to mention the reputation you build up. If as a femme person you always hang out with guys, people will have opinions. The same is true the other way around.
Yeah.
Like if you're a guy that always hangs out with women.
Yeah.
But yeah. Armpit Lover is saying, I think ultimately the labels should disappear, as you said. In most cases they aren't relevant. But what is, in your opinion, on what that would mean for the idea of transitioning? Okay.
Good one.
There is a very simple way. I sort of smelt this one coming. There's a very simple way to put it. In a hypothetical society where everybody is raised gender neutral, there are a lot of people that would just go about their lives, it wouldn't matter, they would just dress the way they want, yada yada yada. And then there is different categories of being trans, because being trans simply means that you do not identify with the gender you were assigned at birth. So for me, if I was assigned a gender neutral pronoun identity, I would probably still transition because I am femme. I like being femme. You know, and if you put me or others like me on an island, most of them would still want to go through this transition. And that's the way to look at it.
So yeah, I think that we can also maybe get started on some makeup soon.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to like mention information-wise about being trans and what do you need, or like is there anything you want to add to the conversation too?
Honestly, right now, not much because hi, ADHD brain. I am always all over the place, but let me just give a little note. I don't know if the tag is actually up for it, but the whole stream is going to be an AMA. If you have questions for me about being trans, about whatever, or sexual orientation for that matter, feel free to ask.